All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for another deep dive. Man, we sure do love our deep dives. Madam Savvy has created yet another thread over on X that I feel like everybody needs to see. She is talking about a company called Dentsu Global. Who is Dentsu Global? Well, you're about to find out. The amount of influence that this company has in terms of DEI in the gaming industry will blow your mind. This thread is crazy, and I really wanted to showcase it to you today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link this thread in the description box below for you guys to check out after you're done watching the video. And of course, consider leaving me a subscribe. We passed 100K recently. Thank you guys so much. It says, Thread Time, Introduction to Dentsu Global and what they are. Dentsu appears to be an advertising group, and it partnered with another advertising group called 614. Now, really quick, we've been talking about advertising groups a lot lately and the amount of power that these groups have, where they are trying to control what you can and cannot see, which is why all of these platforms, YouTube, Rumble, all these platforms, not so much Rumble, but all these platforms that utilize advertisers, they always are focusing on one thing, and that is to make the platform advertiser friendly. They could easily make the platform 18 plus if they so chose, but they want to make the platforms 12 or 13 plus because that way the advertisers can advertise to people who are impressionable. And the more advertiser friendly they make the platform, the more money they make, which results in censorship naturally because, well, you can't show certain things to people under 18, obviously. But in the Australian documents provided its quotes to ensure that journalism thrives by leveraging the collective power of the industry's foremost players. I went and found that article, and in its first image, they state that this was formed in direct response to the 2024 elections. However, more importantly, this quote, now keep in mind, guys, the amount of nonsense that has happened since the 2024 elections, think about it. They clearly are not happy the power was lost. They clearly are not happy that Twitter was purchased by Elon Musk. I said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it. Elon Musk buying Twitter was probably one of the biggest things that have ever happened in human history in terms of power shifting almost immediately. It's insane. Like the fact that he bought Twitter and opened it up to both sides, where Twitter used to be this massive left-wing echo chamber where they would put out all kinds of nonsense and vilify anybody that even remotely thinked center or right. It didn't matter. They would vilify them. They would ban them, shadow ban them, all that stuff. This has been proven. So Elon Musk buying Twitter truly was one of the biggest moments in political power shift history, where we saw a platform that had a lot of influence over the minds of people suddenly shift more towards the center than anything. And of course, you're going to have a lot of the lefties kind of complain and say, well, you know, I don't think this is the case at all. I think X is a right-wing platform now. And the reason why they're saying that is because they're used to a platform that would censor on their behalf. So that way their little fifis were protected. And they truly thought that the entire world, for the most part, was left-wing and only a small fringe group were right-wing or center. That's what they truly thought. The simple fact is this is not the case, right? Most people are in the center leaning in one way direction or another. But for the most part, they're fairly in the center. A lot of people are, right? Not many people are on either side of the extreme. So when Twitter opened up, it became X and allowed both sides to be heard. Suddenly, the lefties that thought most of the world was left, now they're like, wait a second. This is a Nazi platform. What's going on here? That's why they think that, but I don't think they quite even understand. But in any case, of course they had to do this in response to the 2024 elections because they're not happy with the outcome. This is more than just a study on news and brand safety. Going on to say the above quote, well, it turns out Oz was not just the only one investigating them for similarities to GARM, which folded a day after Elon Musk sued them, but Jim Jordan also spoke on them in October 2024, shown in the second image. He shows that 2 months after GARM folded, this Dentsu coalition was formed. So what does Dentsu do? Well, they do indeed connect to the gaming industry, and you're really not ready for this. Now, in case you guys missed my last video about this particular subject, the GARM situation, it stands for Global Alliance for Responsible Media, and they obviously had a lot of allegations levied against them regarding censorship in multiple different forms of entertainment and even politics as well. They were trying to focus on censoring some of the biggest names in politics. Obviously, you know, one of them being Donald Trump. They were trying to censor him any chance they get. So their homepage boasts about 71,000 people working on various parts of the business. They claim award-winning work the usual DEI language, and many partnerships, groups, services, etc. I will focus on interesting bits, but see the website for yourself. Now, if you look here where it says innovating to impact, they do in fact have 71,000 people around the world working for them with multiple different partnerships in different companies as well. And then it says that they boast award-winning work, and if you filter for technology, you can see how involved they are, but they specifically go after gamers. And of course they do, right? Because these coalitions that get formed, you guys got to realize, I know I say this all the time, the gaming industry is the #1 entertainment medium in the world. Sincerely, it's not even close. There is nothing that comes even remotely close to gaming and the amount of money that gaming brings in a global aspect. There's just nothing. There's nothing at all that comes anywhere close. So of course you're gonna have bad actors trying to co-opt the gaming industry. Of course you're gonna have censorious politicians come after the gaming industry. Of course you're gonna have people try to create law that will tell you what you can and cannot do, what you can and cannot say, and what you can and cannot play. Of course it's going to happen. This is only normal when it comes to something that is the biggest entertainment medium in the world. This is why we got to talk about these bad actors. This is why we got to call out what they do every day. I don't care if you're tired of talking about it. These people are not tired of doing it. But anyway, they boast award-winning work, and if you filter for technology, they go after gamers. They claim to understand gamers better than anyone, and for a Gamer Days advertisement campaign, leaned into FOMO to help push the sales of gaming PCs. I can hear you asking, why does this matter? Because they're watching, and because of the next tweet. Their solutions category has a specific gaming tab, and when you click on it, they use very disturbing language in terms of all the red flags that we have come to see as patterns of bad behavior. Influence on culture. Metaverse. Everyone is a gamer, borderless concept. East meets West. Claims to be an expert on the Japanese markets, and for me, this is probably the most concerning. You know, anytime I see the Japanese markets trying to get co-opted by certain Western ideologies, it's an immediate red flag for me. I wonder what kind of advice they give Japanese companies they work with, especially because the following point is that gaming is more than advertising, they say. Gaming isn't advertising, it is interactive storytelling. They claim it is about creating, amplifying, and adding momentum to culture, when it isn't that either, but this is what these people see. They also believe in gaming for change, with representation, inclusion, and advocacy. Remember, this is supposed to be an advertisement agency that helps you sell your product. Why are they writing this on their website as if they have a hand in the product themselves? Hey, that's a great fucking question. They're also sort of proud of their web-based game, which is like baby's first web game, where you just shoot some gems. I don't get it. I don't get why it's here. I don't know if this is supposed to show that they are totally gamers, but makes no sense. It is at the bottom of the page, like an afterthought. Kind of like all of the gaming to them, really. So this is probably, again, the most concerning thing, the whole East meets West thing. Like, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see Western influences in Eastern media. The moment you do, it's very concerning. And again, there are good influences and there are bad influences. This, I would say, is probably a bad influence. Then Savvy says, naturally, the group knows that the problems they have, all the solutions, even partnering with the biggest companies in the US. Meta, Microsoft, Julie Grant worked there for a long time, Google, Amazon, Salesforce, which has been quietly sunsetting all DEI, Adobe, I think Grant also had connections there, and more. Venture to their About Us section, and the usual DEI stuff comes up, along with their business resource groups, and you see the usual pride and women, along with some segregation. I'm so tired of these corporations pushing this nonsense. I really am, because they don't fucking care, right? Like, we have the fair understanding that whether or not you are a left-wing person or a right-wing person or a center person watching my content, can we at least sit here and truly understand and agree that these massive corporations don't actually give a fuck about your social cause? Can we agree on that notion? I feel like we can, right? I feel like that could be a common ground that we can truly utilize to understand each other better, because there is no fucking way that these corporations all suddenly care about your social cause. They only want to pretend to care because it makes them look good. There's ESG scores that are related, and there's also money that could potentially be made from this. That's really the only reason why they care. Otherwise, they're just going to go with whatever the more profitable social cause is at the time, or at least the best looking social cause in terms of the public perception of the company. Then it says these are the big boys on the website. Not a whole lot of DEI ever makes it up there, does it? And you know what, bro, can we talk about this? Can we talk about this? Because Disney is also very guilty of this, right? What Disney does and other corporations do is they will scream DEI, right? They will scream DEI. They'll be like, yeah, we need more black people in leadership. We need more Latinos. We need more all this stuff, right? But the funny thing is, when you look at the executive branch for all of these corporations, the only executives that are not white people are usually DEI-oriented executive positions, right? That's basically a chief diversity officer. Look, prime example, Christina Pyle is the only black person or seemingly black person up here. She is chief equity officer. It's so ridiculous, bro. Like, they will never give them any other opportunity that actually matters, but they'll put them in a fucking fake job, a chief equity officer that is the first job to go when the company is not performing good enough. It's hilarious, bro. It really is. Now, obviously, in terms of DEI, they do include women in that, so there is a fair amount of women up on this panel, but at the end of the day, all of the major positions that actually matter, aside from CEO, which happens to be a woman, every other major position, executive vice president, chief financial officer, everything, president of global creative, everything is held by a man, a white man on top of that too, for the most part. It's unbelievable. So this is why I make fun of these companies, because they'll talk about DEI, but when they talk about DEI, they only want to give you the base level entry jobs, and if they do give you an executive position, it's going to be something DEI related. So did you really earn it? Probably not. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, they have indeed worked with and have access to Mastercard, who they helped create a solution for transgender individuals to have their chosen name on their cards. Meanwhile, Mastercard is actively debanking transgender individuals who actually make not safe for work games. But it didn't stop there. They also worked with them in relation to food for some reason, but they worked with Amazon as well on this. They got Amazon and Mastercard to inorganically boost each other through front page advertising. Remember, it is a giant club, and none of us are invited. But it doesn't stop there. Mastercard directly went after gamers with Dentsu. Keep in mind, Mastercard is eager to suppress gamers, but not abusive Hollywood. And this is truly where it gets confusing for a lot of people, because it's like, okay, you want to claim to be against fictional NSFW content. Okay, whatever, that's your thing. Obviously you're wrong for that. As a payment processor, you're not a publisher, so you could go fuck yourself. But in any case, they want to be against NSFW fictional content. But in terms of the real stuff, they seem to be perfectly fine. In terms of the real stuff, they actually seem to be very happy to support this stuff. They seem to be very happy to actually process payments. They're perfectly fine with processing the millions upon millions of dollars that Little Tay made the moment she turned 18 and made an OnlyFans, right? Even though she was selling content that it was allegedly slightly before she turned 18, but they're perfectly fine with it. They have no issues, right? So this is unbelievable that these people do this. But in any case, trouble's in paradise, however, because a $180 million win marks the end of a 10-year relationship between Mastercard and Karat, which belongs to Dentsu. See above, a Dentsu rep says they wished him well, and there was that. So ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, this entire situation clearly showcases that there are massive evil organizations that are out there that are doing everything they can to try to censor video games, to try to control what you can and cannot see, to try to control what you can and cannot say, and especially what you can and cannot think. They want to control it because at the end of the day, they don't like the results of what happened in the 2024 elections. They just don't. They just don't. Anytime these politicians or government agencies get an opportunity to control the minds of the public, they are going to try to take it. They're going to try to do it. And this is no different. They'll spend all the money they have to. They'll create all the coalitions they have to. They'll create a 70,000 plus worker force if they have to, in order to try to control what you can and cannot say, do, or think. So you guys can let me know in the comments down below. What do you think about this situation with Dentsu Global? What do you think about what's going on in gaming in general? Thank you guys so much for liking this video, and if you enjoyed it, consider hitting that subscribe button for more, and I'll see you guys on the next one.